Hello, beautifuls. This is Atleen, and I'm coming to you with another video. Okay, so yesterday I did a video on straight cable, straight through cable, as well as crossover cables. And I realized once I uploaded the video that halfway through there was no sound. So I'm going to go ahead and do the video again. Okay, so tonight we're discussing Ethernet straight through cable versus crossing cable. So if you ever have connected a laptop computer or a desktop computer, or any other device, to an Ethernet network, then you may have used a straight through cable. We will sometimes call these patch cables, and they are the most common cable type that is useful in an Ethernet network. These are usually useful to connect devices like laptops and desktops computers directly to a jack or directly to an Ethernet device. And when we begin to look into the cable and look at both sides of the cable, we will notice that the wiring in the cable has specific color codes. And if you compare the two sides, you note on the straight through cable that the wires go straight through the cable, that is the wire on one side connecting to pin 1 connects on the other side to pin 1. Pin 2 connects to pin 2. Pin 1 right here connects to pin 1. Pin 2 connects to pin 2. Pin 3 connects to pin 3. And so on and so on. So all the way through, straight through connectors, the 8 connectors inside that cable, and that's why it's called straight through cable. There's no changes inside of this, and we don't go from one pin to another. Everything goes directly from one side to the other, as you can see. We often use the straight through cables when we connect up the devices, and yet it won't appear obvious when we look at the ports on an Ethernet device. There are two different kinds of ports in an Ethernet network. One is called PDI. If I go close, you can see at the bottom it says MDI, MDI, which is media dependent interface. And this is most often a network interface card. So this would be on the laptop, desktop, computer. Another type of connection device is a media dependent interface crossover. Media dependent interface crossover, MDI network switch. Or an index, also known as MDI-X. And this is most often a network infrastructure device like a network switch. Once you look at the difference between an MDI and an MDI-X, you will see that there are differences on the transmit and receiving side. On an MDI device, the transmitters are pins 1 and 2. 1 and 2 transmit. Or the MDX is pin 1 and 2. So this is usually how the communication occurs. One device is transmitting, another device is receiving, and if you have MDI and MDI-X both connected to one another, we can use a straight through cable and an Ethernet network. We're connecting pins 1, 2, 3, and 6. All the way through that straight through cable. Now the other pins might be actually connected to pins 4, 5, and 7 and 8, may still be wired inside of that cable, but Ethernet is only going to use 2 pairs of those, which is pins 1, 2, 3, and 6. And because we have swapped the recovery, the receiving, and they're transmitted from the MDI to the index, then you can see to use a straight through. Excuse me. Cable to go straight to it. And that's why when we connect our workstations directly to a network switch, we don't need any special kind of cable. We just need that patch cable that has that straight through cabling inside of it. If you wanted to connect a workstation to If you want to connect a workstation to a workstation, that would be an MDI to an MDI. One of the challenges is that our transmits on pins 1 and 2 on both sides, we can't use a straight through cable because we'll be connecting transmit to transmit, and receive to receive, and obviously is going to get through in that connection. So we use a crossover cable when connecting one of the index to index devices. I'll say that again. We will use a crossover cable when connecting, excuse me, one of the index, Cindy, will you please stop, excuse me, to index devices, a switch connecting a switch. Say that again. Use a crossover cable when connecting one of the index to index devices, maybe a switch connecting a switch. So we're bringing up a connection between two switches, for instance. We will use a crossover cable to be able to do this. A crossover cable looks like this. The colors are for the TIA / for EIA 560A type of a standard. You can see pin 1 instead of going to pin 1 as it did in the straight through cable. Is going from pin 1 and then crossing over to pin 3. Pin 2 crosses over to pin 6. 3 goes to 1 and 6 goes to 2. And you can also see that in the book. I'm reading from Wendell Odom, CCNA²⁶ Volume 1. And we're reading about Ethernet straight through cable concept, and we can read it. I'll read it to you. Bless you. Excuse me. A straight through cable works correctly when the nodes use opposite pairs for transmitting. Data. However, when two like devices connect to an Ethernet link, they both transmit on the same pins. In that case, you then need another type of cabling pin out called a crossover cable. The crossover cable pinout crosses the pair at the transmit pins on each device to the receive pins on the opposite device. Okay, and we can see that in figure 212, crossover Ethernet. And as we just stated, pin 1, as it did in the straight through cable, is going from pin 1, then crossing over to pin 3. Pin 2 crosses over to pin 6. 3 goes to 1 and 6 goes to 2. As you see in the diagram. 1 goes to 3. 2 goes to 6. 6 goes to 2. 1 goes to 3. 2 goes to 6. 6 goes to 2. This will more likely be on the CCNA exam, people. And we're going to go to, do I know this already? It's 1 through 9. And pertaining to what we just discussed is number 3. Number 3. And it states, which of the following is true about Ethernet crossover cable for fast Ethernet? Okay, and it's right here. I'll read it again. Which of the following is true about Ethernet crossover cables for fast Ethernet? And it gives you a choice A, B, C, D, and E. Pins 1 and 2 on one end of the cable connect to pins 3 and 6 on the other side of the cable. And that's the answer. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I wish you well.